besties, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cayenne and this is Cayenne is Booked. I love romantic suspense, okay? And I'm really excited because I put together a list of, I had to go back into my Goodreads because I think I read romantic suspense so much that sometimes I forget how many I've actually read. So today I am only going to talk about, I think 6, maybe 5, because I'm still debating on whether or not I want to include one of them. And anyways, so the way this is going to go is I'm kind of going to give you like, so name of the series, how many books are in the series, which one's my favorite in the series, and kind of like a little brief synopsis about like overall what happens within the series. I don't want it to be like super long, super drawn out. So like, I don't want to do rapid fire recs, but I want it to be like beneficial for people who also enjoy romantic suspense and are looking for a new series to pick up. Maybe, and I do have some like heavy hitters on here, so maybe you've already picked a series up, but you haven't finished it yet, and you need just like a little inspiration. So I'm going to start off with the heavy hitters and talk to you about the Clifton Forge series by Daphne Perry, which starts off with Steel King. This is my special edition from Fit Teacher Rachel that she did with Daphne. This is the first book in a 6-book series. They're all interconnected standalones. You can read them separately, but I think in order to like really appreciate the romantic suspense aspect of this book, I really think that you need to read these, of this series, I think you need to read them in order because like each one builds up to the final book. So it follows a former motorcycle club, but heavy on the former because it's been disbanded. It's small town, you have enemies to lovers, fake dating, surprise pregnancy, forbidden. There's a celebrity romance thrown in here as well. So like if there's a trope that you really like you could definitely find it within the series. And my favorite book in the series is actually Riven Knight, which is going to be the second book. I love Steel King, and I definitely love another one of the books in the series, but there was really just something about the dynamic in Riven Knight that has always really just been a favorite of mine. I gave all the books in the series a 5-star series, so it would be considered a 5-star series for me. So if you haven't picked it up, if you started it but you haven't finished it, highly recommend it because the suspense it's there. Next up, another one of my faves, like literally my favorite series. This is the Tattered and Torn series by Catherine Cowles, and this starts out with Tattered Stars, and arguably has one of the most gut-wrenching prologues I've ever read from Catherine Cowles before in my life. So Be Brave, Just for 60 Seconds, 20 Breaths. And it launches into the story of this family who had their youngest daughter kidnapped, and how the dynamic within the family like completely shifted, and how as adults now they're also kind of like trying to heal from that trauma and trying to allow themselves to like live full rich lives and like build families outside of like their core family, and really kind of like heal from the trauma of losing Shiloh. 5 books, they're all interconnected, and small town, so there's a trope for everyone. Enemies to lovers, there's best friends to lovers, there's childhood best friends, second chance, there is age gap as well. My favorite book in the series is Fractured Sky, which is the last book in the series and which is also Shiloh's book. Her being the one who is kidnapped early on, like we go through a lot of it's her family, so it's her brother and her sisters that are the other characters in the series, and we see them heal from what happened to her and like how it affected their childhood and like their dynamics. But I was so excited when we got to Shiloh's book and we got to see her heal from what she had been through. If you want to know more about the series, I have a video where I talk about all the books and I rank the couples in order of who's my favorite. So I'll definitely link that for you if you're interested in hearing more about it. But I absolutely love this. Once again, this is an interconnected standalone, so you could pick it up wherever, but I really think in order to understand what the family goes through and the beauty of the healing within the family, like you kind of have to watch from you kind of have to read from the beginning. So, Tattered and Torn by Catherine Cowles. The KGI series by Maya Banks has been a favorite of mine for a really long time. This is one of my like super beat up, like used copies, and like I have a lot of pristine books in my library, but there's also something like really like beautiful to me about books that are like well loved. And I love this series. So this follows a family who creates their own like security company, and all the brothers, like Ethan's a Navy SEAL, one of the other brothers was in the Army, a few of the other brothers were Rangers, we have a Marine. And so essentially they create their own like security firm, and it's the KGI security firm. And this first book like starts off with Ethan looking for his wife, whom everybody like presumed dead, but she had been actually taken by a drug cartel and held hostage to like try and attempt to control Ethan, right? So this is all about a family that will go to the wall for each other, but also go into certain situations and save loved ones for people that like, you know, the Army or other agencies aren't able to do because they don't have like the same approval or like the same latitude to do that. There are 11 books. It's an interconnected standalone series. I don't know if we're ever going to get the ending, guys. The 11th book, or is it the 12th book? Whichever is, yes, so there's 11 books right now. So the 12th book was originally supposed to be published in 2012, and we still don't have it. But I do know Maya Banks like was undergoing like a lot of really bad like health problems and things like that. So like she definitely had to keep pushing it off. So just start this knowing that like one of the couples that you really, really want to be together, like you might not get it. Because I'm dying, and it kills me inside to know that I'm probably like not gonna get their story, even though I can make it up in my mind, but I might not get it. So my favorites in this series is No Place to Run. That is Sam. He's the oldest brother of like all the Kelly family. And then Brighter Than the Sun, and that is one of the twin brothers' books, Nathan's book. And he's been through a lot. And for me, it was just like the traumatized out hero that really just pulled me in. So I highly recommend this series because each of the books have a happily ever after for their couple. So even though like the overall story arc of the entire series might not be completed, you can still get like your couple happily ever after at the end of the book. Next up, we have a book series that I really need to spend more time talking about on this channel because I am obsessed with this couple, obsessed with this series, re-binge listening to it right now, and that is the In Death series by J.D. Robb. The first book in the series is called Naked in Death. This is an OG cover, okay? This is a first edition, literally released in '95. One of the coolest books that I own in my entire library, and you guys know I have a pretty extensive library. I've been doing bookshelf tours through Vlogtober, and as I go through it, I'm like, wow, like I actually have like a lot of really cool books. But anyways, I digress. Let's talk about Naked in Death. So this follows Lieutenant Eve Dallas, and she is an NYPSD police officer. She's a lieutenant. She works in the homicide department, so death is her business. And in Naked in Death, she finds a young lady killed, and it leads her to this like multi-billionaire man named Rorik, who is an Irishman. And Rorik takes a liking to our Shirley, doesn't give an F what anybody thinks about her, only cares about doing her job detective. And when I tell you that this man is obsessed with her, he's obsessed with her. And in this one, she is trying to find out, so one of his friends is brutally murdered, and she's on the case for it, and she keeps coming in contact with him, and he ends up being a suspect in the case. And he was going to be like kind of upset about that, but how can you be upset about it when like you're literally trash for this woman and you want to see her as much as possible? There's really nothing you can tell me about Rorik that is gonna get me to go, wow, like he's not that great. I'm sorry, but I'm obsessed with the man. I'm obsessed with everything that he is. I absolutely love the story. Couple of books in, we get to meet Peabody, who's gonna eventually become Eve's aide. Then we get to meet McNabb, who's a part of the electronics division. Then we have Nadine First, and she is the reporter that like Eve begrudgingly builds a relationship with. And then like each of these books like slowly builds to this found family aspect. And it's one of the more beautiful stories that I found about found family. And I think she's at book 60 now. Yeah, so JD Robb is actually Nora Roberts, and she releases 2 books in the In Death series every single year, and she's done so since 1995. And I think, I want to say I'm in like the early 2000s right now in my re-listen, but it's been absolutely everything to go back and like see how Peabody joined, like see where we picked up with the forensic examiner, like meet McNabb, who ends up being like Peabody's mate. Like it just is so cool to kind of go back and see like how this family got built. And I've been having the time of my life, and you haven't started the series, like I highly recommend it, especially the audios, because the narrator Susan Erickson does an amazing job. The Bailey Brothers by Claire Kingsley. I absolutely love this series. I do want to throw a disclaimer out there that I am on the 5th book in the series. So I haven't finished it, but it is interconnected standalones, best read in order. There's 6 books. There are 5 brothers, but Asher gets like, this is his novella, and then he gets a full-length novel. So one of the brothers gets like a book and a half. And this is Romeo and Juliet vibes in a small town, 2 warring families. We have the Bailey brothers who lost their parents, were raised with an older brother and the grandmother. One's been to prison. We have a lot of murder and death, all the like kind of like small town drama that comes around that. And then each of the Bailey brothers like slowly starting to find the love of their life, right? My favorites unraveling him, Evan Bailey, our lone wolf, our grumpy hero. Love that man. Now, could that change? Absolutely, because like I said, I haven't finished the series yet, but as of right now, he took over Asher's spot in the top, and I'm obsessed. Also, if you have the hot guy covers for the last 3 books in the series and you don't want them anymore, let a girl know, because I'll take them off your hands. And the final book that I want to talk about is the Fatal series by Marie Force. So this is a 16-book series. They're all interconnected standalones, but as I've said pretty much like within this entire video, I'm really big on making sure that like your romantic suspense books are read in order, because usually there's a plot that goes across like all the stories, right? And this follows, like much like the In Death series follows Eve and Rorik the entire time, the Fatal series follows Sam and Nick the entire time. So like you want to be there for the beginning of their story so that you could kind of understand the dynamic. So Sergeant Sam Holland investigates the death of a senator, and this senator's aide is actually Nick, who's this guy that she hooked up with like years ago, thought he was going to call her, he never did, and then she ends up moving on, but like they're in love, right? So this is the story of how they build their relationship. Nick continues to be within politics because he takes over his senator friend's seat just to the end of the term, but then he runs, and then so many different things kind of happen. And like the Fatal series leads you into the First Family series, and the First Family series at 7 books right now. I don't know like when that's gonna end, but this is like, I call this like a miniature version of the In Death series, because we get to follow this couple through like all the like incarnations of like their relationship and their life and the different dynamics that they have. Fatal Consequences is my favorite book in the series, but I really did enjoy listening to audiobooks, reading the books. I love like the concept of baddie chicks like in positions of power, mowing over the competition and showing up and showing out every single day, and I absolutely love it. And I really do enjoy the series. I am also reading the First Family series as well, and I am enjoying that as well. But I do recommend reading the Fatal series first, just so you have like the basis of their entire relationship and why the First Family dynamic is the way that it is. So if you've heard of some of these series and you're gonna get started finishing them, I wish you the best of luck. If you haven't started these series, I highly, highly recommend them. They're some of my arguably favorite romantic suspense series. And if you're not a romantic suspense girly or guy, like go ahead and jump on the train. We have plenty of space for people who like a little crime with their love. And you know what, guys, that's it for me today. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are. Belle and I are gonna go watch some TV and go to sleep, and I will catch everybody in the next video. Bye.